The F1 season 2023 is over, and what a season it was. We are in the second year after the big rule change and the field is getting closer. Now, finally, every single team changed to large downwashing side pods, which is the best basis for a car that keeps the front rear wake outboard and pulls clean, undisturbed air down towards the downforce producing parts at the back. Of course, Red Bull has been dominant this year and people are complaining that it's getting boring, but we shouldn't forget that Mercedes was dominant for 7 years and everybody wanted someone else to win. One of the reasons why Red Bull has been dominant is that they started off with the right concept in 2022 and they expected bouncing with ground effect cars. So they could sort out issues faster, and while others were busy with changing their concept, Red Bull could concentrate on improving details. If we look at how many points each team scored each weekend, we can see that Red Bull sits well above all other teams. The only real low point was Singapore, where they just couldn't get it right. All other downward spikes are caused by Perez's performance, as Max won 19 of the 22 races this year. Also here, we should remember that every teammate of Max Verstappen has a hard time. He is an exceptional talent and the team is built around him. So it's not easy for anyone to come into this team. But in 2023, it was really interesting what happened behind Red Bull, and we want to have a closer look at this. Mercedes started off with a similar small side pod concept as the year before, and it didn't work out. Again, they changed the concept during the season, which is never good, and they had to work with a not ideal basis. In the end, also they changed to large downwashing side pods and they found the stability they missed with the previous concept. They also restructured their technical department. James Allison is technical director again and Mike Elliott left. With all these troubles in mind, it's a very good achievement to finish the season with the second in the Constructors' Championship. But Mercedes didn't really improve much during the season. Their car, with all its compromises, is hard to set up and has a small operating window. Because of that, we could see very different performances of both drivers during the season, although in many cases they ran the same setup. One thing we can see here is that although Russell seemed to get along with the W14 better in the second half of the season, Hamilton is scoring more regularly and hence has more points overall. A bit worrying is that it seems like Mercedes doesn't really know in which direction to develop the car. While other teams seem to understand their car and constantly bring more performance, that's not the case for Mercedes. So let's see how next year's car will perform, which will be a better basis and not a compromise like this year's car. A bit similar is Ferrari, who also carried over last year's in-washing concept and changed to large downwashing side pods mid-season. They are also scoring regularly, but in a bit more dramatic way than Mercedes. The good thing at Ferrari is that it seems like they understood their car and know which way to go. The changes that came with new team boss Vasseur seem to show their effect now, and Ferrari could be a strong contender next year. McLaren's performance in 2023 was pretty extreme. They started on a low with a car that wouldn't work as expected. They also lost Andreas Seidel to Sauber and Andreas Stella took over. They brought a huge update mid-season to redefine their aero concept and to pull a lot more clean air down to the rear, similar to Aston Martin. And suddenly the car was competitive. After only scoring 17 points in the first 8 races, they scored 187 in the last 8 races. And that made them the second fastest car at some weekends. Also, they have a strong driver lineup with Norris and Piastri. Newcomer Piastri could deliver in his first year, and although he only scored half the points compared to Norris, he showed that he could win races. Exactly the opposite development of McLaren took Aston Martin. They started very strong with their extreme water slides and the side pods to get more clean air to the back. In the hands of Alonso, the car was the first Red Bull contender in the first half of the season, until Canada. Their Canada update changed the character of the car and it took them in a wrong direction. Understanding exactly what went wrong took a long time, until they simply ran both versions in Austin to see the difference. Now, towards the end of the season, they seem to understand their car better again, and let's hope they can produce a competitive car for next year. So, in the end, it was a tight race between McLaren and Aston Martin. Alpine finished the season on a lonely 6th place, far away from competitors, behind and in front of them. The French works team with the 2 French drivers showed some good development steps, but their underpowered engine and the internal trouble didn't allow for better results. The Red Bull management wants to see results as quickly as possible, and after the French F1 team didn't meet their targets for years, and McLaren was developing into a Red Bull contender within a couple of races, they lost patience and fired the whole team management. With a new management in place, things need time to run smoothly again. If we look at both drivers, we can see that Ocon got along with the car better in the first half of the season, where Gasly got more confident in the second half. Behind them, we saw an interesting battle between Williams and AlphaTauri. Williams got a new team boss with James Vowles, and things move in the right direction. Lots of desperately needed internal changes start to work now, and the growth-based team showed some good results in the middle of the season. If we look at both drivers, it's very clear who's scoring the points. Just imagine what would be possible with 2 drivers like Albon. So, also because of the CV of their new team boss, Williams has a very close relationship to Mercedes. With a strong investor in the background and changes in the right direction, the team can finally get rid of old inefficiencies, and that's also attracting new capable people. So Williams is on a good way. AlphaTauri, on the other hand, had a difficult season. They were last in the Constructors' Championship and De Vries didn't deliver as expected. The quick change to Ricciardo mid-season was a risk, as he needed time to build confidence again, and then he injured his hand in Zandvoort, which gave Lawson the chance to show his potential. So, despite having 4 different drivers driving their cars, they could turn the season around with their huge Singapore update. They gained more and more experience and quickly earned important points, which was enough to overtake Haas and Alfa Romeo, and gave us a tight battle with Williams at the end of the season. So AlphaTauri is on a good way as well, and has with Tsunoda and Ricciardo 2 very experienced drivers. In the past, the Faenza-based team liked to go their own way, which didn't really work. So the idea for the future is that they use as many parts as possible from Red Bull, and instead of their own old 50% wind tunnel in Bicester, they now use Red Bull's top-notch wind tunnel in Milton Keynes. Alfa Romeo is in a difficult spot. First of all, there is the huge transition happening in the background to a future Audi works team. So there are lots of internal changes, they hired more than 300 people, and in addition to that, the people who supported the project at Audi are not there anymore. So it's not really clear if all the efforts now are worth it. Also, Alfa Romeo started the year with large downwashing sidepods and kept pretty much the same performance throughout the season, but they couldn't outperform their rivals. Another difficulty for them is the location in Switzerland, with much higher salaries compared to other teams in the UK and a German-speaking environment. So it's not easy to concentrate on developing the car in the right direction with everything that's happening in the background. To really take a step forward, the Swiss team needs new ideas and potentially drivers who can extract the most out of the car. At Haas, it's pretty much the same story we have seen in other years before. The team starts good into the season with a Ferrari-based car, but then loses the development race throughout the season. Additionally, they put big efforts into their huge update, which doesn't seem to work, as Hülkenberg drove with the old spec again. The unique structure of the team doesn't help here, with an aero department within Dallara in Italy, CFD in North America, and the car assembly in the UK. If a team commits to a huge update, it means they have seen significant gains in CFD and wind tunnel. If the update then doesn't work on track, it usually means the team has massive correlation problems. And something like this is hard to solve if parts of the teams are spread across the globe. So it looks like they will have to rely on new Ferrari parts again to have a decent start into next season. So despite Red Bull being dominant, 2023 was a very interesting season, with some teams performing strong first and then getting confused, and others doing it the other way around. The fact that we have stable regulations for 2024 means that teams invested in upgrades until the last race because they can use the experiences for next year. Since everyone is using the same concept with large downwashing sidepods now, and also the engines stay the same, we can expect roughly the same order. Ferrari, McLaren, Williams and AlphaTauri look like they're on a good way, so let's see what they can do over the winter. And in general, we can say that F1 itself did an impressive development in the last 10 years. Just watch a 2014 race again and you will see the big difference. Of course, the cars are heavier and there is a lot more show around the race now, but the cars look better, the racing got better, there is a cost cap in place, teams are earning money, and because of that their value increases sky high and F1 attracts more and more new audience. So, how did you like the 2023 season? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want to be part of F1 and work in the technical development of F1 teams, check out my online career accelerator program. It's an intensive 6-week course which helps you to prepare yourself for a career in F1 with CATIA V6 licenses and lots of valuable knowledge you can only get from the people who worked in the industry. The first people who finished this course are already working in F1's aero departments, so you could be the next one. Check out the course with the link below and make sure you state that you found the course through my YouTube channel. See you at the next one.